school readings, especially in the Gospels and in Acts, there are the literal parts of the story. There's a girl named Tabitha, whose name was Dorcas in Greek. She was a disciple, the only female disciple ever mentioned in the New Testament. And she died, and Peter came and told her to get up, and she comes back to life. So there's the literal interpretation on one side. But we have to remember in Scripture that there are always two meanings. There's the face value, which is perfectly fine to take it at that. But then there's the deeper meaning. There's the metaphorical or the meaning that we have to somehow extrapolate from the text. What are they really getting to? How does this apply to me? Because some girl being raised from the dead 2,000 years ago kind of applies to me, but in a lot of ways it doesn't. So how does this relate to us? So we go through this process called exegesis. Okay? Exegesis is to take out the meaning from text. So I'm going to have y'all do that in a minute. But I'm going to give you the background. Okay? So the person who wrote Acts was none other than Luke. Okay? So Luke wrote Luke and Acts. In Acts, we have this story about Tabitha, but before that, we have the story of Aeneas. And Aeneas was somebody that Peter encountered as he was walking along, and he sees this man on his mat, and he looks down at him, and he says, "Pick up your mat and get up." And the man did. He picked up his mat, and he got up, and he walked. A man who had been paralyzed, perhaps physically, perhaps by his complacency about life, we don't know. Go back to Luke. Here's where the real connection comes. This girl in Acts, her name is Tabitha. But Jesus in Luke was walking along, and if you remember the story, there was a woman who had been hemorrhaging for 12 years. Okay? And he's walking along, and all of a sudden this woman comes and touches his cloak, his tunic, and she's healed. And Jesus says, "Who touched me? I felt power coming out of me." And nobody said anything, and finally the woman steps forward, and he says, "Go, you're healed." Then he comes along, and after he had healed this woman, these people come and speak of a man named Jairus and his daughter. The daughter is 12 years old. The woman had been hemorrhaging for 12 years. Okay? Jesus, after he heals this hemorrhaging woman, he goes to the house of Jairus, and they say, "Well, don't waste Jesus' time because it's too late. The girl died. Sorry, you missed it." Jesus has this propensity to show up late for the party. Remember, Lazarus died and he was supposed to hurry up and get there, and now this little girl dies because he's late getting there as well. But he goes into the room, and as the girl's laying there dead on the bed, he says, "Talitha kum." Talitha, what they said was her name, but really Talitha means little girl. Okay? Kum, get up. So get up, little girl. Her name is Talitha. Change the L to a V, and guess what? Here we are in Acts. Luke is writing another story very similar, and now her name is Tabitha instead of Talitha. Right? So, Peter goes in and says, "Girl, get up." And the girl gets up. 12 years of hemorrhaging. 12-year-old girl. 12 tribes of Israel. 12 disciples. Perhaps there's a connection here. Perhaps Jesus is talking metaphorically about Israel rising up once again from the ashes that they're in under Roman oppression, showing that under exile before they've risen up, right? Babylonian exile and the Assyrian exile. Okay? So, with this background in mind, let's look at the metaphorical side of the text. So I'm going to shut up for 2 minutes and let you read this again. Okay? And I want you to tell me what it means. Okay, that's about the max for how long I can shut up, so. What do you mean? Give me some possible meanings. Yeah, Caesar.
Like the ones who like act of kindness, the ones who act a lot of kindness are rewarded.
Ones who act with kindness are rewarded. Love it. Good. Good. Definitely. Yep.
Well, I think there is just my interpretation, but I think, even though she was suffering, she always did good, her spirit was still alive, so when her body, quit on her, then she was, they told her to continue, because she still had much work in her life to do. Because often when we pass away, our body, is gone, but our spirit is still alive, and we need to share the unfinished work.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, in fact, in the previous passage with Aeneas, the passage says that when Peter told him to get up, it says the Spirit filled him once again. And he got up. So yeah, maybe because of her legacy, the Spirit was already there waiting to refill it again.
Not sure if there's any metaphorical meaning, but I'm struck by some of the verbiage in the translation. Beginning, notice that she was living in a room upstairs. Yes, there might be metaphorical reference to that in some sense there, the burial upstairs. And it also seems early on, when he arrives, and notice that the widows stood beside him. And I wonder about the relevance to being widows versus people or friends or others. And then further below, he calls people back in, he calls saints and widows in to show that they're alive. There.
Yeah. The widows, those who had already known death. And with the upper room, where did the disciples hang out when they were scared to death before Pentecost? When they were hiding from the Jews? In the upper room. So they were pretty much spiritually dead. Yeah, that's good. Keep in mind, this was a female. Right? Yep. Yeah. Power of one-on-one relationship. I heard you moving. Give it to me.
Well, what I see about Peter is that he was asked to come, and so he got up and he came, but at the end, it doesn't really say that his contact to where he was living was there even. Like, did he arrive there certain days, or did he live there? But then this whole incident with him led him to, it says at the end, meanwhile, he stayed in Joppa for some time. So this experience allowed him to sort of settle his soul and realize there's more to life, and what is there more in this whole situation.
Yeah. So there was something rewarding in it for Peter, right? In Peter giving life, he also received life. And perhaps he felt it necessary to stay in Joppa and nurture that relationship, right? To continue to keep her alive. Yeah. Empowerment. Give me one more. Yeah.
For me, it's when the widows, they're showing the tunics and the clothing that she made. But Peter chose to put that outside. So, although she might have been an excellent seamstress or designer, that really wasn't important. So, the materials and things that we kind of hold on to aren't so important for our spirituality. That we have to, maybe we need to just put those things to the side and really focus on what God is saying to us, so that we're able to listen. They don't define who we are. They just define what Peter's are. That's not important.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good catch. Oh, definitely. Yeah, certainly what she did, making the tunics and all that, was important for the group, right? But it didn't define her. There was something bigger meaning to her life than just that stuff. Yeah. And she was a female, okay, who were not very well regarded in those times, okay? She was probably quite young, comparing these stories, it was usually a little girl, so maybe she was, I don't know, maybe she was a teenager, who knows? Maybe she was a widow too, no idea, okay? But she was a disciple, the only female disciple, and a disciple was a doer. What if this woman was burned out from all that good works she was doing for everybody, all these tunics and cloaks and stuff she was making for everybody? What if she was just burned out and like, you know what, I don't see the point in this anymore. And she just wanted to lay down and give it up. Yeah, see.
It would probably Peter would never revive her. Yeah, because like, she did so many good things, but if she didn't, Peter would never have the courage or like the heart to give her life again.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of the flip side, right? Had she not been so kind and generous, Peter might not have seen it worthwhile to bring her back. Yeah, definitely. There was something that made him think it was worthwhile. So whatever it was, whether she was burned out, whether she was just depressed, whether she was dejected, whether there was just too much going on, one way or the other, besides the physical death aspect, there was some spiritual death, some emotional death that was happening. And this girl just wanted to get in bed and put the covers over her head and say, heck with it, you give up. Give up. But Peter, in essence, comes to her and says, no, you're not giving up. You matter. We need you. Your life has meaning. Now get up and let's do this thing. She got up. The girl got up. That's powerful. She could have stayed there. She could have stayed dead, whatever that means. Right? But she got up. Every time in the Bible when somebody comes to somebody and says, you matter, I need you alive. Not just physically alive. I mean, I need you to live your life the way you are supposed to live your life. And isn't that the church's job? To tell people that they matter, to tell people that they are empowered, to encourage them, to bring them back to life, to lift them up and say, you count, now get up and live. Not just the blood coursing through our veins, not just the air we breathe into our lungs, but you need to live because we need you to live. The world needs you to live. Because sometimes we have something in us that even we can't see. This book, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, he's the author of Bagger Vance and a bunch of books about the wars in Troy and Greek mythology and all these different books. But he tells in here about this dream that he had. Pressfield has all these dreams and he writes them down and tries to interpret them and whatnot. And he says in this dream he's a gunnery sergeant, okay? And he's just standing there on this aircraft carrier. And the captain, the commander of the ship is there by him talking to other people. And they've got a big problem. See, this aircraft carrier is stuck on land about a half a mile from the ocean. He has no idea how it got there. He doesn't know what happened. But nonetheless, they're standing there in this aircraft carrier that's stuck on dry land. And they're all trying to figure out what to do. And he hears people saying, well, Largo would know what to do. Largo would know what to do. And he's thinking, who the heck is this Largo guy? And the commander comes over and he hears them talking and he's feeling kind of shy. He's like, this commander, I can't talk to him, so he's kind of keeping to himself. And somebody says, well, what do you do? He says, I don't know. And the commander looks over at Pressfield in the dream and says, well, what do we do, Largo? He was Largo. He was the man with all the answers. They didn't even realize it. Yeah, it's just a dream. But it's true. How often do we not give ourselves enough credit to know that we have the answers, or at least the power to bring a solution? The power to make things better for other people. Right? We don't have the confidence. We don't trust ourselves. We'd rather just lay in bed and tell ourselves how worthless we are. Until somebody, whether it's a commander or Jesus or Peter, to look at us and say, get up. I need you. That powerful stuff right there. I mentioned before about all of the feeling of dejection and not mattering and stuff among First Nation peoples, right? Native Americans and whatnot. And this morning, as I'm drinking my coffee and eating my bagel, I always pull out my phone and going through CNN, and I see that last week, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name, but a nation of first people in Canada, up by the Hudson Bay, in one day, 11 youth tried to take their own lives. In one day. Okay. In that month, there have been about 35. This year, there have been over 100 attempted suicides. Imagine if somebody went to them and told those youth that they matter. I need you to live. Get up. Imagine. Right? We've got a history of systemic oppression and telling people that they don't matter so that we can take their land and everything that they have. But imagine if we reversed that and said, you do matter. Right? That would be powerful, to give these kids life again. And that's just one example. Everywhere we turn, we have an opportunity as individuals and as the church to tell people that their lives have meaning and that we need them to get up because they have something to offer. They have a gift that only they can give. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. So I'm going to leave you with this last page in Pressfield's book. It says this. Are you born a writer? Were you put on earth to be a painter, a scientist, an apostle of peace? In the end, the question can only be answered by action. Do it or don't do it. It may help to think of it this way. If you were meant to cure cancer or write a symphony or crack cold fusion and you don't do it, you not only hurt yourself, you even destroy yourself. You hurt your children. You hurt me. You hurt the planet. You shame the angels who watch over you and spite the Almighty who created you, and only you, with your unique gifts, for the sole purpose of nudging the human race 1 millimeter farther along on its path back to God. Creative work is not a selfish act or a bid for attention on the part of the actor. It's a gift to the world and every being in it. Don't cheat us of your contribution. Give us